Hey, Engraver here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another SuperCollider demo where I will be exploring granular synthesis for the first time. The master himself, Eli Fieldsteel, has set up a couple of tutorials on his channel on granular synthesis, and he will guide you, he will show you the ropes. I'm just pretty much taking his syntax and exploring. But I'm also doing it with audio files that I did as far as, recording violin and doing a few impromptus. You can see that I have about 5 violin sounds here, all of, different durations. So we'll go ahead and get started. But before I do forget, I would say it is worth noting this. Inside the granular synthesis or the grain buff, the UGen for granular synthesis for audio files, we have a fourth argument, and that is our sound buff argument. And this must hold an audio, a mono audio signal, not a stereo. And for the longest time, and Eli does address this, I think 7 or 8 minutes in his video, for the longest time I thought, well, there's no output, why isn't it working? I have all the channel numbers properly allocated and whatnot. Turns out you cannot use a stereo signal. So all this code here that would be appropriate and just fine for something like play buff is a no-go for grain buff. So yes, just to read what this says, the sound buff argument in the grain buff UGen must hold a mono audio signal. When trying to granulate a multi-channel buffer like a stereo signal, grain buff will fail silently. Below is the syntax for stereo audio files. That does not work. So hopefully I will spare you from the troubleshooting, but of course Fieldsteel has mentioned it himself, I think 8 minutes in his video. So what we can do if you do have stereo files is convert it to a mono file using this argument here for the method read channel. And I've used this in my other code before. But if you want to hear the file as it sounds, we can just go ahead and evaluate these and just maybe listen for a few seconds. I think most of them are rather long. Lucia 1 here is about 81.5 seconds long, about a minute, 26 seconds long. And then Lucia 2. About 44 seconds long. I have this division here for if I wanted to find the last fourth, if it properly locating. Oh, let's get maybe 75%, right at 75% into the sound file and pick up a grain from that point. So that's why you see this what looks to be ambiguous or arbitrary math. So let's go ahead and do Lucia 3. Seconds. Oh. Yeah, I just realized this is 126 and this is 81 seconds, so 121 or 122. A minute and 22 seconds, that's what I mean to say. So 52 seconds, under a minute. So these are quite long. Now 5 is quite short. Yep, 4 seconds there. So a lot of material to work with. And now I'm going to go ahead and clear this and convert these all to monofiles. And so now we should have one channel each. And there we go. And it should be more or less the same duration. Yeah, there we go. I don't think I need to do all of them for you there. All right, so we are ready to put these in the grain buff. And so we'll just start out with, well, this being our mono signal, but we do have the ability to make it a stereo signal with our number of channels here. And our next argument is a trigger, which Eli brought to the table impulse and dust, which I also use. And so you would hear, in this case, two signals or two results per second with a grain duration of about 8/100ths, or size of the grain in seconds. And our sound buff argument, or our audio signal, in this case this is Lucio 2, my second sound sample. This is the rate. I like doing it in MIDI ratio, so 0 being the original playback rate. Let me do something a little bit longer. And this is, oh, well, actually, before I do any of the results, we'll just go ahead and leave it as the normal playback rate. This is about 73% in the actual sound file. This is linear interpolation. So this is, let's see, our rate. Oh, not interpolation. So this is rate. But yes, position in the sound file, our position argument. So you have values between 0 and 1, 0 being in the beginning and 1 being right at the end. And then interpolation, I stick with linear. And this is the pan position, which I haven't actually tried. Maybe I'll try that a little bit later. Oh, pan here. And the nth buff num, which I have yet to explore, that will probably be in another demonstration. But we have -1 being our built-in envelope, and the maximum number of overlapping grains that can be used at a given time. And I think this is the default. In fact, if you left it out, it would probably be the default. And Fieldsteel does say that it is a pretty generous amount, so I don't bother changing it. He does say that you cannot dynamically change it while something is generated, so I'd watch out for that. So let's go ahead and explore some sounds and play with some parameters. So I went back to my first audio file, my violin impromptu, and I'm just gonna take it away. Oh, that doesn't sound nice. But I think what would work would be shortening the grain duration. And then maybe, I like something low, so maybe transposing it to octaves. Maybe not down 2 octaves, maybe down 1 octave. And let's see where this is on maybe 77% in. And another file. Yeah, I like that one. What I have in mind is to try and digitally imitate a flame or the sound of a flame next to someone's ear. And I think I can do that with impulse, but I think a little bit better with dust. So let's go ahead and just copy this for a second and apply the same thing with dust. Let's see what this sounds like. It's a little too harsh because the duration is a little too long. So this is getting more to be like retro gaming, you know, kind of, let's see, a little bit of explosions. Maybe take this back to 70%. It's kind of nice. Yeah, something like that. And then maybe put it through an effects, like a reverb or something. All right, this is what I like. Now, I wrote a note to myself, you know, try using dust with a soft attack, but that has to be explored using an envelope to give that effect of a flame. Luceo, which is based on this Scottish slogan, I shine, not burn, which is in Latin, luceo non uro. I think I got that Latin right. Forgive me if my Latin pronunciation is not working tonight. But yeah, the idea of flame, the idea of fire for a piece like this. Now, what I like about this here is I am now using multi-channel expansion, where we have two channels for more or less a binaural effect. So we have dust, which is not equal. It's not equidistant or equal metrically like impulse, but rather, veering toward close to 40 or away from 40, more asymmetrical. And so we have 40 here, and maybe, I don't know about this. Let's go ahead and do 42, and let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, I love that. It's pretty cool. I am a fan. Well, I probably know why there's no output here. Oh, actually there is. Do you see that? Just a little bit of output. So let's find maybe 85% in, see if that works. Oh, just a little bit. Yeah, I really like that effect. Now, I am stacking synths on top of each other. I don't really recommend this for too long, but the output is so low that I think it's okay to do it with this sound file. Yeah, it's great. Let's go ahead and try the fourth audio file. So when the duration is really, really short, it's quite, the output is quite low. It's actually transpose it a couple octaves higher. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. And you can see that I have it scaled to 0.3 just to reduce that amplitude just in case. The same would be true if you wrote it this way in the syntax and, you know, disregarded it like so. So whichever you prefer, I think the output is the same. All right, let's do the same thing with impulse. So we have that binaural effect. I don't know why I did these floating point numbers. I wasn't really thinking here. Let's go ahead and do, I don't know, 44. It's already getting a little bit loud. That's a bit overwhelming, at least to my ears and my studio headphones. You know, I'm kind of a fan of something short. We haven't done our fifth. Let's see. We haven't done our fifth audio file. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh, very low. Very low. Let's give it some length. Let's do about 15% in. It's already quite quiet anyway. Not too much of a fan, but it's worth exploring. Woo! Not a fan of that. So I tend to keep the impulse values low, especially with the sound regarding anything that would include something like violin with a lot of partials and frequency, especially high frequencies. But you know, I'm kind of a fan of the low stuff. So transposing the playback rate, oh wow, you know, let's try as low as 4 octaves down. Whoa, that's pretty cool. You can still generate that the very high pitch there. All right, and using a little bit more multi-channel expansion by creating an array of this kind. In fact, actually, why don't now I think for something like this, I would need a floating point. But let's try something with a little bit more variance, maybe 41.1, and evaluating this function here, you can see that I have an array of 12 items with a float between 40. It looks like it's averaging mainly 40. In fact, I don't see any 41. And I think it's because the exbrand, the exponential part of this, is drawing more toward the lower end. I know it's not much lower. It's between 40 and 41, but it's still the lower value. So, but I think you'd have enough variance. So what we'll do is go back to dust, and using xbrand, the class, we will kind of meander between, well, not meander, that's for later actually. We will create an array of 12 instances or grains between 80 and, you know, yeah, 81.1 I think is fine. With the duration size here, let's see what this sounds like. That is quite nice. In fact, I don't think I need to scale it down. Let's go ahead and try that again without that scaling down. It's quite nice. can see a lot of CPU power, processing power here. That is, it's, you know, if you start stacking these things, I'd say be careful. But yeah, that's definitely a nice effect. And of course, impulse, going back to our equal metric pulse there. I'm not a fan of such a high value for impulse. Let's why don't we go as low as 20 and 21? Okay. Can't hear much. Let's do something like, well, we'll try 40. Still nothing. A little bit. There we go. Whoa. Always be careful. You know, I don't know these audiophiles so intimately as to pull up a grain from, you know, some microscopic slot and say, I knew that was going to happen. So, you know, in cases like this, of course, the safe bet is to scale that down. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, and finally, we're just going to add a grain duration kind of control. So let's control the grain duration with a noise generator, where we will have 2 grains, 0.2 seconds long, and they will meander between these 2 values. So I believe adding an 8 of a thousandths to this duration here to up to 4, and we'll hear the difference. I think I have those values interpreted correctly, but whatever the case is, it sounds cool. Isn't that awesome? That is so awesome. All right, let's do something a little bit lower. And why not something above the playback rate, something transposed a little higher? Oh, I don't know, maybe 4 semitones? It's pretty cool. A little harsh. Again, I'd have to explore maybe some envelope buffers or what have you. Still not quite there. So let's go ahead and drop it 4 semitones. And I have here the value 12 for an array of 12 values. I think that might reach an amplitude I wouldn't want you to experience. I don't know. It's just my gut instinct telling me that. But let's go ahead and do the same with impulse. Not as cool with impulse. Let's take it down to 30 or something. I don't know. Ugh. Ooh, that messes with the brain. There we go. Again, I would not recommend this, but you get the picture. So yeah, that's my first take on granular synthesis. I hope you had fun with that. This is just syntax that Eli Fieldsteel was showing us on his wonderful tutorials. Always highly, highly recommend his channel. Can't recommend his channel enough. And I'm going to continue exploring, and hopefully if I find something worthwhile, I'll go ahead and throw that in another demonstration for you. And all the while trying to compose something by the end of the month using granular synthesis. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully you like that. Thank you always for watching and listening, and always be on the lookout for some more sound experimentation every Thursday, some commentary on music and art every Monday nights around 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern time, around there. And yeah, until next time, keep producing the art you love, and I will catch you later. Thanks again.